So it is 11. So I think what I'll do is I'll just get us started now. So hello, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us today. So my name is Jess, and I'm the Director of Customer Success at Rezgo, and I'd like to welcome you all to our webinar, Unlocking the Power of AI, Going Beyond Content Creation. So before we get started, just a reminder, as always, we are recording today's session, so you will receive a copy of this afterwards. And then during the session, if you have any questions that come to mind, please just go ahead, submit them in the Q&A at the bottom of your screen. We're going to try to cover as many questions as we can at the end. And if it makes sense in the session, I can call on questions as well. But anything we can't get to, we'll definitely follow up with you after. So now I'm happy to introduce our speaker today, Rohan Rath. He is an AI product manager at Telus Health. So we all know AI continues to be a hot topic. It's not going away anytime soon. Although many of us have used some sort of AI, I know I definitely dabble with ChatGPT now and again. I'm excited to have Rohan here to introduce us to other ways the tool can help your business. So let's just dive in, and I'll hand it over to Rohan.
Thanks, Jess. Firstly, very happy to be here, as I just said, and hello to everybody. So my name is Rohan Rath, and today, as pointed out, is all about AI, more specifically generative AI. What can we do to go beyond content creation? However, we will also spend some time covering a bit on the content creation side as well. So on today's agenda, we have a quick introduction to, sorry, I'll just get this out of my, yeah. So today on our agenda, we have a quick introduction to Gen AI, which is generative AI. We all have read a lot about it. It's good to just bring us all on the same page before we start really a deep dive into it. We'll go over a few general applications of Gen AI and what are some of the impacts that it's having on different businesses. Then we'll specifically dive into the tourism industry and see how you can leverage Gen AI for your business and some use cases. We'll also see some demos, so should be exciting. Then we'll quickly look at a case study, and then towards the end of the session, I'm just going to cover a bit about how to craft good prompts and also touch a bit on responsible AI, which is a framework that everybody must follow, whether they use AI or they want to build using AI. And of course, towards the end, we'll have Q&A and some comments. So without any further delay, I'll start by introducing myself. So my name is Rohan Rath. I have been a product manager for over 7 years. I have experience working with chatbots since about, I think, 2017. So I've worked with chatbots for a couple of years. Then I moved into voice AI for a bit. I worked with voice AI technologies for about 2 years. Imagine your Siri, Google Assistant, Alexa, similar technologies, but it was more in the automotive side. And now, more recently, for the last 2 years, I've been working with generative AI ever since the GPT models were launched by OpenAI and Microsoft. So I've actually seen chatbots specifically evolve over a period of time, and it's been extremely exciting to see that happen. But what's happening right now is definitely revolutionary, and you can see a huge shift in what's going on. I do regular events for different audiences. I collaborate with Microsoft on a regular basis to do events as well. And even though I'm not from the tourism industry, the applications of Gen AI can be generalized for a lot of industries. And I'll show you how similar use cases can be applied for your business as well. Just a quick little bit about my background. So I am an engineer. I used to be an engineer. I have an engineering in information systems, and I also have an MBA in strategy and marketing. And on the personal front, I have been a content creator for close to a decade now, been a photographer for over 8 years. More recently, I've been making videos, and sometimes I write as well. The reason I'm mentioning this about me is because this is where Gen AI also plays a big role in my personal life. So with that, I'm going to start with an introduction to Gen AI. So generative AI, a refresher. So what is Gen AI? It's an AI model that helps you create new and original content based on patterns learned from training data. What it means is that Gen AI is very similar to you and me. Every sentence that I'm speaking today is also a result of everything that I've learned over the period of my life, which is my training data. And now I'm able to create new content, new sentences, new words because of what I learned before. And that's exactly how Gen AI also works. It uses its training data to come up with new content. And it's built on top of something known as large language models. For example, GPT is one of those models. And then I also mentioned foundation models here because when we think about image generators, that's what they use. Not super important to know, just wanted to introduce the terms here. You must have heard about GPT-4, DALL-E, Midjourney, which are being used to produce human-like content right now. But it's not just about content creation, and that is where today's session comes in. It goes much beyond content creation and has several applications, as we'll see in a couple of minutes. So the main way Gen AI is different from the traditional AI that has existed for decades now is that traditional AI was more used to uh, analyze data and make predictions, but not really create new data. But Gen AI goes a step beyond and it helps us create new data. So you can imagine Gen AI as your smart friend in the work in your personal life or a smart coworker that you always have access to. So it's like an enhancement of your team, and you can always refer to Gen AI or the large language model to ask questions and maybe do a couple of other tasks, as we'll see in a bit. So some of the key capabilities of Gen AI, as mentioned, firstly, you can generate human-like text. You can create realistic images, videos, audio from just having text descriptions. The audio side of Gen AI is really evolving fast, and I encourage you all to check out some of the new like music AI tools that have been launched that you can use to generate songs and just from lyrics. It's quite interesting. It can also assist in software development by generating code. This one is fairly new, but the feedback that I have been receiving personally, I've seen a lot of engineers be able to scale their work pretty quickly. It's also been used for the traditional data analysis and pattern recognition, but it's becoming much easier to do these things. And towards the end, it's also being used to personalize user experiences. So these are a little more complex, and we will not be going into data analysis, pattern recognition, and personalization today, but we look at some other use cases. So the impact of Gen AI has been quite broad. It's transforming industries by automating a lot of tasks. It's helping generate insights faster. It's also enhancing creativity for artists, designers by just helping them push boundaries of creative expression. Sometimes it's hard to express yourself or put things into words, but Gen AI can really come in and play a role there. It's also really augmenting knowledge work wherever you have a lot of say documents you work with or a lot of data sets you work with. This is really democratizing how we work with knowledge. So this is where researchers, analysts, and even for your business, you might have to analyze a lot of data, but Gen AI can make it easier. We'll see in a bit. And then again, personalizing experiences, but overall it definitely has the power to shape how we function as a society and just our culture, because this will start playing a role in our everyday life, whether it's in education or social interactions. So s- social media is starting to get filled up with a lot of AI content already, so we hope that it goes in the positive direction. But yeah, it'll definitely play a key role. On the right is just a quick graph, which is a survey by Deloitte, which says that 80% organizations say that they are likely to, they see Gen AI likely transforming their organization. And yes, it's happening. There's a lot of case studies already showing that work is being augmented by Gen AI. So now let's dive into the applications of Gen AI when it comes specifically for the tourism industry. So let's start with the obvious. Sorry. Let's start with the obvious, which is content creation. Now, this is something we all might have experienced and experimented with already, but I just wanted to spend a few minutes talking about this. So, when it comes to content creation, what it's really doing is it's helping you save time and resources when it comes to written content specifically. It's not easy to have a small team. Maybe you're a team of 2 people or 4 or even 10, and it's really hard to just keep up with the blog posts, keep up with your product descriptions, and just keeping up with all the social media updates. You really want to put out content, but it's not easy to just compete with all the other businesses. But Gen AI can really help you generate things faster. And there's a lot of potential to just really fine tune what you need and eventually get the right responses so that you can directly use it. Of course, it's always encouraged that you don't directly use what comes out of, say, ChatGPT and post it on your website. It does sometimes get flagged as AI generated content, but that's a great starting point to start writing. Because in writing specifically, starting is the most difficult part. Once you start going, it's much easier. Same with tools like DALL-E and Midjourney, which are image generators, and they help you create visual content. Not everybody can afford like a fancy designer or hire resources for regular design work, but then these tools at a fraction of a cost can actually help you keep up with your image and video, and in the future video needs as well. So yes, I understand that this could be a controversial topic that you want to go to the designers, but not everybody has the like the monetary resources to do that, and this is where this can come in quite handy. Especially small tourism companies can leverage Gen AI to actually create content at scale, and that can help you compete with some of the larger players in the market. So applications, as I mentioned, it could be for marketing material, it could be for say SEO optimized content. Something that I have used Gen AI for is asking what are the most important keywords in say a specific industry or for a specific use case, and just using that list of keywords and writing something. So you don't just have to stick to writing the content itself, you can also use it for say SEO or just figuring out what is the right approach to writing something. You can create sales artifacts. For example, a very interesting thing about large language models is that they all come with a lot of languages already out of the box. So for example, I don't know if you have tried talking to ChatGPT in a different language, it's very likely to give you a very nice answer. So for example, I've tried French, even though I'm not good at French, but I've tried it and it has produced pretty good results. And whenever you build using Gen AI also, you get a lot of languages. So if you're struggling to create sales artifacts for say different languages, or marketing content, you can leverage Gen AI again. And it can also help you create service documentation and wherever you need some help with text. On the right, I just wanted to show how easy it could be to create, say, a logo or an image. So it just says, I just went to DALL-E, which I actually use through a Canva subscription. Canva is a great tool for content creators because it gives you access to a lot of tools and their AI suite is pretty good. We can chat more about it during the Q&A if you have any questions. But yeah, as you see, it's not easy to get somebody to design this, but just using the right prompt, I can read something very usable. And if you have a little more design skills, Photoshop skills, you can really fine tune this for your needs. So the next use case that I wanted to touch upon, it now we are starting to go beyond content creation. So an interesting use case is gathering insights on your competitors. So one of the things about any business is that you have to keep tabs on your competitors. It's not always easy. You want to see what they're offering. To see that, you need to analyze vast amounts of data from their socials, from their websites, reviews, and figure out what are their strengths, where are you lacking in your services, and what else can you offer. So you can use these insights to benchmark your offerings and just identify if there are any gaps in the market, or if you are lacking in like some of your offerings compared to say other businesses in your area. And again, the applications of this include like performing market research. It's not easy to say uh, like there are these reports that come out, health of the tourism industry, say in Alaska, and it's not always easy to sit and read through like a 40-page report, but you can just upload the report and ask Gen AI to summarize it for you. It can also help you figure out your competitive positioning. As I mentioned, it can then eventually it can lead to you developing better services. So now is a good time to actually show some demo and see how we can actually do something like this, right? So for the purposes of this demo, I'm going to assume I'm a whale watching company based out of Anchorage, Alaska, and I want to just figure out where I stand among my competitors, or I just want to see what other businesses are offering. So I'm just going to switch my, yeah. So this is a tool called Perplexity. So it's a personal choice that I use this tool over ChatGPT. So it's pretty similar to ChatGPT. You must have at least tried it or seen it. and it gives you access to a lot of different models apart from GPT. And I just find the user experience on this platform to be very user friendly. So I prefer using this, but what I'm going to show today can be used across any, say, large language model or any AI tool that you want to use. But if you want to chat more about this again, we can do that towards the end. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start working on, say, performing some competitive analysis. So I go here and I say, hey, I run a whale watching tourism company based out of Anchorage, Alaska. I want to perform a competitive analysis of other companies that have similar offerings to mine, right? So this is where I start. And what I like about this tool is that it also does real-time search for you. So it's looking at the most up-to-date information out there, and it's trying to understand your question and should start answering. Okay, I think. Just give me a second. Yeah, I figured I hadn't refreshed this page since yesterday. Yeah. So yeah, I'm just going to perform this again. So now it's asking me this one more thing I like about this tool. It's asking me what key specific aspects would you like to include in your competitive analysis. So I'm going to say, let's go with first, let's start with customer reviews, services offered, and target audience. Let's see what the response is like. So it's giving me a very general answer right now. This is how you can do it. So now what I'm going to say is, okay, that's good, but can you look at some companies in Alaska and perform this analysis? Let's start with the services offered. So then and what I'm doing is I'm trying to have a conversation with the chatbot and work almost like with a team member. So now it's going to go ahead, look at other whale watching companies and start answering questions. So now you see it's starting to give me some of the businesses that are in the area and what kind of services they're offering. Now I'm going to, as it's writing, I'm just going to pick up some other questions. Also, it always gives you sources, so you know that it's not making up any answers, which is a big problem that existed, say, a year ago. But then it's giving me all the services. Now I'll say, can you include some ratings and price information as well? So now I'm really getting into having a discussion about the competitors. Now, if you're one of these customers, ideally you shouldn't say, I'm a whale watching company. You should just disclose you are this whale watching company and you're trying to do this. And now it's starting to give me, okay, TripAdvisor rating is 4.5. The prices start around 150, 200. So now I'm really able to source a lot of information very fast. So it literally took me a minute to get all this information. Previously, you would have to go to all these websites or reviews and find the right information. So I'm like, okay, this is cool. Now I want to document it, and I'll just say, can you please make a table for this data? And it's going to start creating a table for you. And now you can maybe keep this handy or maybe take it somewhere and start reviewing it. So just to show you the power, I started with, okay, I want to do a competitive analysis and ended up with a table of data within the last 2 to 3 minutes. And this is where working at scale comes into play. Gen AI really helps you work at scale. As an individual or as a small team, you can achieve a lot really fast. You don't need a full-on team of analysts or a huge marketing team or a competitive intel team working on these things. You could start sourcing information much faster. Of course, this is going to stick to all the public data, but again, it's not always easy to go through all the public data, or also you can't always rely on the search results to make sure you're catching everything, because you can always go ahead and say, can we list 5 more? Can we list 5 more? And it'll keep doing it for you, and it scales very fast. So just to go back to this, so yeah, so we just collected a lot of information on our competitors, but what do we do with this information? This is where the next use case can come in handy, which is you generate ideas for yourself. So one of the key things that I use Gen AI a lot for is generating ideas at work as well, but also in my personal life. So in this case, you can generate creative ideas for new tours, experiences, and packages from after studying all the information that the competitive analysis gave to you. And then you can also take the help of Gen AI to get it to suggest innovative concepts to you that can align with your customer needs. And then again, applications could be service ideation, or it could help you create innovative tour packages or combos. It can also help you design new experiences. It can also help you identify some upselling and cross-selling opportunities. Okay, I get, for example, you get a lot of bookings from, say families. Now, what else can you offer to these families within your existing business? It's not always easy to find that. But if you ask Gen AI, it might find some connections. It's almost like it's doing the data analysis and providing you with the insights that you can now use and start working on specific customer segments. So again, I'm going to hop back into the demo and I'm going to show you that how what is a good approach to this. So again, for the purposes of this, I'm still the same whale watching company. I just finished doing my competitive analysis, uh, and now I want to say that okay, based on these, I see that I already offer most of these services and combos. Can you tell me about some services from other places like, say, British Columbia and Canada? What kind of services are they offering? The reason I chose BC is because I'm based out of BC in Canada, and we do have a lot of whale watching companies here. So yeah, so I would like to create some new offerings. So now I go ahead and ask the Gen AI this question. So now it's going ahead and looking up some companies which is based out of BC, and then now it's telling me, okay, these are the things that these are some of the services and some of the companies out there, and this is what they're offering. So again, it's not always easy to go out of your territory of business and then find what others are doing across the world to source, say, ideas. But with in this case, it becomes much more feasible for you to do. So especially this can come in very handy if you're starting a new business or starting a new segment of a business, want to offer something new. This is where it comes in very handy. So what I'm going to do next is I like this idea of kayak tours for the summer. Okay, it's a little away from my whale watching business, but it's still an adjacent business. So I'm going to ask, I like the idea of kayak tours for summer. What could be some viable combos and audience types this could cater to? So now we are able to do an analysis of, okay, so it's asking what is the main goal. So you can think about what you want. So let's choose photography, relaxation, and adventure, right? Okay, let's go with wildlife viewing. You can also add something more if you want, and then let it answer. Just let's give it a minute. Okay, so now it's saying that, hey, you could combine kayak and hiking tours. You can combine kayaking and swimming, or there's other things also like cultural tours. And then there's audience types like families, couples, adventure seekers, and eco-tourists, for example. Now like sometimes you don't even know that this is how your audience is being segmented. For example, when preparing for this, I found that there's a huge market for eco tourists, so that was new to me. And it's something like you can ask more also, can you give me more audience types, and you can go above and beyond with the kind of questions you ask. Now I see that there are families. Now I want to see what else can you offer for kids, because like whenever we have families over, we have kids and we don't have enough for them to do. So I can ask what else can I offer for kids, and let's see what the response is. Okay, so it's asking which age group. Let's just choose this. Yeah, so again, it's telling me you can have kid-friendly kayaking tours, you can have educational programs, and so and so. So this is how I was able to, again, source a lot of information in an incredibly small amount of time. And this is, again, scaling and being able to just access information and summarize it for you. This is where Gen AI is extremely, extremely helpful. So in the interest of time, I'm going to pause there. I did have a couple more follow-up questions, but experiment with it. You can try it on Perplexity, Chat GPT, whichever one you prefer, but the responses should be quite consistent, and you should be able to get the right responses. Uh, Talking about right responses, I'll touch up a bit upon how I decide what kind of prompt to write. It's in the crafting prompt section, so I'll come to it in a bit. So before that, let's discuss a little more complex use case of Gen AI, which is building Gen AI chatbots. Now, chatbots just seem like a big topic, and it is a big topic. But because of Gen AI, it's getting easier and easier to build chatbots. So I'm sure we have all interacted with chatbots. It exists on virtually every website, every app. And a lot of these have been the more traditional chatbots where there's very specific like key value pair is what we call. When you say something, it responds back with a very robotic answer. But what Gen AI does is it helps you create chatbots which are very human-like. They have very human-like conversation because they're trained on human data. So in this case, I would also like to point out that this is what I work on a day-to-day basis at my workplace. We have been building chatbots. We have been trying to help teams scale using these chatbots. We build chatbots which are internal facing. We build chatbots which are external facing. So this is my area of expertise right now. So coming to the type of chatbots, there's something which you can always start with, which is a simple FAQ chatbot. You can have the chatbot answer some very common customer questions. It's available 24/7 and it's able to support you in reducing the workload. So maybe your customers are currently asking questions through email and it takes you a while to answer them. And it also slows down your sales process sometimes. But if a customer can get access to some simple answers quickly, they might take their decisions faster. This is where a chatbot like this comes in very handy. Then you also have very complex support chatbots, and this is where imagine your Amazon chatbot, right? Like whenever you are talking to Amazon for a return, it's a much more complex query, and now a very automated chatbot is able to handle. But with Gen AI, you can also bring a very human spin to this chatbot. It's not very robotic anymore. So today I'm not going to cover how to build the especially the second type, because this is what requires a lot of work to build. But simple FAQ chatbots are actually quite easy to deploy now. I will show you in just a few seconds. And the third one is something like internal team facing chatbots. So this is how we started. There's always skepticism when it comes to putting AI in front of your users, because to you don't want to put AI in front of your users like quickly if you don't understand what you're working with. And this is where an internal team facing chatbot can be helpful. For example, in the work I'm doing, we have a lot of these sales requests where we have to source a lot of information. And we have to interact with a lot of different employees within the company, but by just building a chatbot that can answer some questions from our documents, our internal documentation, we can speed up the work of our colleagues. So this is where you could also build a chatbot for yourself. And for example, say a customer asks you a question. Right now, you have to go to a document or go to your FAQ or go to ask somebody and then answer to the customer. But it could be as simple as building a chatbot for yourself and then talking to it whenever a customer asks you a question. And the applications of this are in customer service. It could be useful in lead generation. And then once you start getting more complex, it could be booking assistance, feedback collection, and as I mentioned, internal knowledge management. Now, it just building chatbots sounds complex at first, but it's really not. It building chatbots has not been extremely complex for a while now, because there are a lot of companies that offer you tools. But now what we have is a human-like chatbot, which was traditionally not easy to build and required a lot of time and effort to build it. And actually, I'm just going to show you one real quick. We are actually going to build a quick chatbot together. For the purposes of uh, this demo, I'm going to use I just Googled and found this company called Explore, which is based out of Mexico. And they have this FAQ page. And I'm going to try to create a chatbot which takes in all this data and answers questions. So for this, I'm using a tool called Sendbird. In no way is this an endorsement of Sendbird. I was looking for something that could help me demo for free, and I can't use my internal platform, so I figured I'll find something, and this is what it is. And there are plenty of services similar to this, which can help you build a Gen AI chatbot in a few minutes. So I'm going to get started on building. So they have a video, but I'll just show you how easy it is to build it. So I get started. I'm saying, okay, I'm going to say this is called a travel bot, and it's actually using OpenAI GPT-4 model. And then there's a couple of like a welcome message, some suggested responses, and then I'm just going to say next. Then I'll say, okay, I'm going to use my website, my FAQ page to build a chatbot. Okay. I think I have exhausted my, let me just check. Yeah, I might have exhausted my usage. Uh, yeah. Okay, let me get back to this. Maybe in a few, maybe towards the end, I could try it again. Maybe I'll just get through the content and see if we can cover this. What I wanted to show was that the FAQ chatbot is fairly easy to build. It's just like a two-step process. You go here, you go to building, and then you give it a link to your tool, and then let me see if yeah, it's not letting me proceed anymore. Okay, so I'll maybe come back to it, and it's just in the next step, it creates the chatbot for you. So it's as easy as that.
And Rohan, I'm sorry to interrupt. What I can also suggest is if the demo doesn't work for this webinar right now, we can
Yeah.
definitely maybe create a video and send it out to the audience after the fact. We can do
Yeah,
it.
I can definitely do that. I'll try to show it towards the end though. Yeah.
Okay.
Okay. Cool. So I'll try to get back to it, or else I'll get back to you later on this. So, well, it gives me more time to talk about the advantages of having a chatbot. So I wanted to showcase a very popular, powerful case study that went around the industry recently. This was by Klarna, which is a buy now, pay later solution. No, that's not important what the company does, but what it noticed is that within 1 month, they were able to automate 2.3 million conversations that was handling two-thirds of their customer service chats. The chatbot was able to do 700 full-time agents worth of work. And in fact, the customer satisfaction score was also on par with human agents. This is again because the 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 chatbot talks in a very human-like manner, and their query resolution time dropped by 80% as well. And this chatbot functions 24/7 and communicates in 35 languages. As I said, a lot of these large language models come with different languages out of the box, and they are estimating that it's going to drive a profit of 40 million, profit improvement of 40 million. Now, of course, not every company functions at this scale, but what's important is that just see how easy it is to scale. Especially if you're a smaller business, this becomes even more important for you because scaling is the biggest problem. Managing customer queries is the biggest problem. You are stuck working after hours trying to respond to your customer queries, and something as simple as the chatbot, which I was just showing, could come in handy. So you don't have to do like complete refunds automatically, but you could at least answer basic questions. I have in my work, I have noticed that often 80 to 85% of queries that are coming from customers are just static information that they just don't want to go out and find themselves. It's already on your website. They just don't want to find it. And they instead go on a chat and try to talk to somebody so that they get a link. Now you don't need to be there. You can just build something. So as we are approaching towards the tail end of this conversation, we want to focus a bit on how to craft good prompts, because how you talk to the chatbot, how you talk to Gen AI will determine what answers you're getting from it. So this is some things to keep in mind is always try to be very clear, very specific, very concise in your information. Don't try to provide a whole one page of information at once to Gen AI. You can, but it might get confused, as we might get confused if somebody gave us a lot of instructions. And always try to use consistent tone if you wanted to stick to a consistent format in the answers, especially when it comes to marketing material, sales material. The more consistently you talk to it, the more consistently it will respond to you because it's trying to mirror the way you're talking to it. Always break down complex tasks into step-by-step instructions. This is something you saw me do during the competitive analysis. I didn't say give all the instructions at once. It gives me the flexibility to really work with the chatbot rather than the chatbot deciding what it wants to do. And of course, you need to iterate, you need to experiment with how to talk to chatbots. The way you talk to GPT might be different from how you talk to, say, like there are other models like Claude and Llama, like not important, but there are many large language models need which sometimes just function a little differently, and you have to find your voice. And it took me a while to find my voice also. I found that one large language model talks more like I do. So now I stick to that and I'm able to really replicate how I would write something. This is an example of a bad prompt, very vague. Write about 5 tourist destinations in Bali. Okay, it gave you a list of 5, and even Google can do this for you. It usually like will give you the top 5 results, and that's exactly what's happening here. But if you really want to go above and beyond, let's say in your blog post, this is a better prompt. As a tourism company's marketing content writer, create a 500-word article about so and so. And towards the end, I'm saying user-friendly and informative tone, format the article with headings, subheadings, and whatever you want to provide it with. And just see the difference in the response. It gives you a much better, much nicely outlined, and you can literally take it, make a few edits, and put it on your, let's say, on your website, if you just want to create helpful content about your area. And the last topic is a bit on responsible AI, which is something I feel obligated to talk about. It's very crucial crucial to talk about when it comes to AI. Whether you are using AI, you are relying on AI tools, or you are building AI tools. Some of the key principles to keep in mind are the following. Okay, so you have transparency. So whenever we build something, we make it always known to the user that they are using an AI tool, and you'll find this consistent across many tools that you might come across. It'll say something like, this is an AI system and it may be wrong. This is you going to the second point, that is taking accountability for what you're working on. This works both ways, by the way. If you're using a tool, they should also follow this. If they don't follow this, then there's reasons for you to doubt whether you're getting the right response or not. So having things like references really help create accountability. Of course, it should be fair and inclusive. It shouldn't be discriminating in its responses. But if you're relying on a tool like OpenAI's tool or Google's tool, they already take into account these things, so you don't have to worry about it. But raise flags if you find any sort of like unfair practices. And then, of course, they should be reliable. Don't deploy something which hasn't been tested enough. So always test your own tools. And then, of course, there's also a question about privacy and security. We generally have these training sessions where we let people know not to use their personal data and not to use any sensitive information when talking to chatbots. Even though we are building internal, like we build chatbots with the utmost security, and we still make sure we talk to the customers to let them know not to share any personal data. So if you build a very open FAQ chatbot, just have a message which says, hey, I'm here to answer your questions. Refrain from sharing anything too personal, right? There's a very simple example, but something like that really helps. And a lot of information is available about how to build responsibly using AI, and also how to use AI responsibly. For example, if you generate an image using, say, one of the AI tools, it's good to just disclose that on your website that we are using AI for these things. It's just a good practice. And one thing which brings me to the last one, the closing remark from me would be, it took me a while to realize what AI works well for me, what are the actual use cases, and it did not start from my work. It actually started from my personal life, and I started talking to AI more and more and realized there's a lot more that I can do with it in and out of work. So take the time to experiment and find what works for you and stick to your morals as well. Of course, there's the responsible AI, but there's also a question of morality. If you don't feel comfortable putting out images that are AI generated, and you want to use actual human generated content, stick to that. That makes sense. But if you're looking to scale and that's your priority, then you can use tools like this. And with that, I think we are at the end, and there's time for this five. We have 5 minutes for some Q&A, and I'll try to get this working in the next 30 seconds as Jess looks at the
Okay.
questions.
Yeah. Things happen. It's all good. I think that was so informative. Thank you so much. I know myself and I know my team even got ideas on how, we can use certain tools. That was great. So we have time for some questions. So I'll just keep an eye on the Q&A. Go ahead and pop your question there if you have one. Um, I know one thing I was going to just bring up is I know there's or assume there's free versions of many of these tools, but of course the paid version is always going to be better. Can you talk a little bit about that, about maybe what free version someone could start with, or an idea of what costs might be involved with some of the paid tools?
Yeah, for sure. So I started using, as everybody, the Chat GPT. I started using the free version of Chat GPT. I subscribed to it for a while, but then I came across Perplexity, and both were $20. So I switched to Perplexity because it's $20 a month. But the kind of things it lets me do is it
Mhm.
goes quite above and beyond, with especially the options to choose the model I want to use. But
Yeah.
having something as simple as Canva, which costs I think $150 a year, it gives you
Oh,
access to a lot of these tools, but also on the free version, you get a certain number of credit monthly. So if you have less usage, you can always default to using free versions until it starts generating money for you. So you're like, okay, I think this is bringing value. I'm going to switch to using the paid version.
okay, thank you. And then actually we do have a question related to Canva. And Andrea is asking, you mentioned about Canva to be a very useful tool. Can you mention very briefly how it could help us? So you mentioned it has access to other tools. Can you talk a little bit more about
Yeah,
that?
for sure. Yeah. So with Canva, they released something called the AI Magic Suite or Magic Suite. It's something that on the tab you'll see AI, and in that they are letting you use tools like GPT. They're also letting you use I think it's Runway, which is the video generation. It's very, very new, but you can experiment with it. You can see where it's all headed. But it also gives you access to tools like DALI, which is the image generator by Google, and you can use their image generations. The image generations have been really good for me. Again, as with prompting, you need to find what good prompts are, and there are tons of articles that can help you. So if you fail to find, say, stock images, you can ask Canva to create it for you. You also don't run the risk of putting something which is copyrighted because now you can. I would really read the terms and conditions before I use anything, see what works for you, and then use it. But great for ideas. If you are somebody who's talking to a designer and you don't know what instructions to give, create some designs and give it as references. So something that can be a bridge rather than the end goal also.
Okay, that's a good
Yeah,
tip.
yeah.
And you actually answered the next question about recommending an app for image generation for social media. So you answered that with your other answer. So that's great.
Yeah, the absolute best is Midjourney, but again, it's not super easy to use. So Canva has been my go-to so far.
Okay.
Yeah, yeah,
Perfect. That's great to have those examples because I know, if you're new to AI, there's so many out there. So it's good to have a few to start with.
yeah.
We have another question. I know you talked a little bit about languages, but this question is, does AI work for other languages? For example, if our website is English only, what if someone who speaks Spanish has a question? It was easier for them to ask in Spanish. So that's related to the multilingual AI that answered in the language of the question.
Yeah, I think this is a good, maybe I'll just quickly show it because I just quickly did something and made it work. So I'll just share my screen. I think we have a minute, maybe.
Yeah, yeah, go ahead.
So yeah, so as I was on this step, I was it already processed this page and I hit next. And now the chatbot, let's go with orange because it's a Rezgo webinar. So now the chatbot is up and running. So now what services do you offer? It's going to the uh, explore page, the FAQ page, and it's able to give you a very nice answer, similar to how it would work for like within any of these languages. And then I can ask very specific questions. What are some tours and activities that would be suitable for my family with 2 children? And then it'll kind of go through it and make sense of your FAQs. It's not just going to the FAQs, it's making sense of your FAQs and then providing the answer. And then since I don't speak French, what I'm going to do is I'm going to just convert this into French. Now, I'm not sure about the accuracy of that, but I'm just going to show you that it automatically translates it for me. So if I ask a question in French, it's going to, I didn't do anything.
Wow.
The knowledge base is in English, but it's already listing it out for me. You can try German. I've tried German. I tried German yesterday. I think I tried Spanish and French, and all three were working pretty much on point. So
That's
again,
great.
this is taking a step out for you to be like, you can obviously use somebody to verify it, but you don't need a translator to really work on this.
Mhm.
And now I have a functioning chatbot, and then I can click here, add to my website, Shopify, Wix, WordPress, and or use the code, and it's done. So
Oh,
that's
wow.
how easy it's getting to deploy these chatbots. And if you look at the pricing, if this makes sense for you, try it or go with any other tools that are available out there.
That's great. Thank you. So we're just gone to the 45-minute point. I don't see any other questions right now. But again, if we will follow up with the recording after this. And so then if any other questions come to mind, please feel free to reach out to us. We're happy to help. So thank you again, Rohan. That was really insightful and for taking the
Hap
time.
Yeah, I'm happy to be here. I know it was a lot of information packed into a small session, but well, that's why we have the recording, and happy to answer any questions later on as well.
Perfect. Oh, and I've got a few thank yous. So thank you again. All right. And thanks everyone for attending and for taking time out of your day to join us. We really appreciate it. So hope everyone has a great day and we'll see you next time.